Hello everybody, my name is Corey. I'm back again with Whole Views and I'm giving you my thoughts on The Mandalorian Season 1 before we get into Season 2. So I know what you're thinking, I went real deep on the Lovecraft country, like what business do I have talking Star Wars? Well, let me tell you, I watched Season 1 of The Mandalorian. I've seen every Star Wars film that's come out and I feel like, I've enjoyed them. They're good enough. But The Mandalorian really was really special to me. It got me kind of hooked on Disney Plus and sold me on it as a service. And I just feel like I need to share before we get into talking about Season 2. Before we go any further, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the page. If you're watching on Facebook, please follow the page, like the video, share the video on all platforms. Thank you so much and appreciate it. And if you don't mind, leave us a comment in the comments and let us know, hey, what's your favorite episode from Season 1? Mine would have to be the one directed by Rick Famuyiwa, which was episode 6 of his. That was my favorite. The Mando was definitely giving off some strong Batman vibes in that episode. So that was my favorite one to rewatch. Getting into a top 3 reasons as to why anybody should get involved with The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. And to me, it's very simple. Let's start with number 1. The show is very accessible. And to put that in way easier terms, you don't have to be a Star Wars nerd to watch it and enjoy it and follow the storylines that it presents to us. I learned my lesson from watching Lovecraft Country that with a lot of shows, you kind of have to pay close attention and shut up and watch. And if you do that, you pay attention to the dialogue, you pay attention to what's going on from scene to scene, and you remember there's a lot that happens that connects you to the things that are to come and your questions that might develop, like what are the rules in this universe? What is this little baby doing with his hands? What is a Jedi? What time period are we in? All those questions get answered if you watch and pay close attention and have just a small bit of knowledge about the Star Wars universe. So again, very accessible. You don't have to be a nerd about Star Wars. Just watch it, shut up and watch. All your questions will be answered, and enjoy. Reason number 2 to get into Star Wars Mandalorian for me would have to be there's a whole community. Just like with Lovecraft Country, there was a huge following for that show and like a whole online network of people who watch shows, review shows, talk about backstory, lore, watch interviews, and do all this kind of breakdown of everything that happens with the show, the ins and outs. The same thing occurs with Star Wars The Mandalorian. There's so much of an online community of people who do episode breakdowns of like the top 10 biggest moments from each episode. Sometimes people will give you backstory on what is a Mandalorian. I know when I first got into watching the show, I had to look for that stuff. That stuff is out there, and if you're one of those type of people who want to watch a show but then also become a part of the community of the show, there's a big Star Wars community, and they always welcoming people to either hate on or praise whatever movie, TV show, comic book, movie, game, all that stuff. It's a huge community, and they always growing. So if you want to be a part of something, not just watching the show, but be a greater part of a community, The Mandalorian has one of those. And the third reason to watch Star Wars The Mandalorian for me is that it's a very well done show and it's highly entertaining. Allow me to elaborate. If we're talking about film, cinematography on this show is great. I mean, there's a lot of shots in each episode that are wide pan. There's a lot of shots that are like close up or like images of people doing mundane things, but they're so beautifully shot and very well represented on the screen. It's like, it's beautiful to watch. Like, even if you're watching it on mute, like you can kind of watch and follow and track, and you can see amazing shots. So very well shot, beautiful for the most part show. The fact that the people who make the show are not just Star Wars comic book type, big fanfare type directors. Like, these are people who are very artsy. They pay homage to other genres, and not only do they pay homage, but like they take that and they make it a part of what they're doing. It's real good to see them give little nods to westerns and samurai films and comedies, and even their own Star Wars mythology is, constantly being brought back up in these episodes, and that to me is a real good thing. and a real good indication of a very well made, well directed show. The score on this show, it has an original type soundtrack, and I love the score. The music that plays at perfect moments. You have an original theme that goes throughout the show, and they do just enough to change it to where you notice that it's there, but it's also not so repetitive that it's like it's beating you over the head. This does not do that. I actually watch the end credits up to a certain point every episode because of the actual score and theme that goes along with the show. So good soundtrack to go along with a very entertaining, well shot show. The fight choreography is fantastic for the most part. Now there's a few scenes where there's fights where it's jump cutting from, you know, this angle to that angle. Is kind of hard to track from time to time, and every movie will have that, every show will have that from time to time. But on a whole, I would say the fight choreography in this show is very impressive. I don't know if it's the lead actor Pedro Pascal actually doing the stunts under that helmet, but all the fight choreography for the most part looks pretty good. Again, you have moments of jump cuts, but on a whole, I enjoyed all the fights throughout the episodes. And you know what? This show has charm. It has its own type of charm that comes along with it. There are little things that you can find funny, things that you can see that you can giggle at as you watch this show. Not necessarily saying it's a comedy, but as you watch, a sense of humor kind of develops as you get to know the characters and the situations that they're put in, and just small things that bring charm to the show, give character to the show as a whole. And you only find those things in shows that are very, very well done. And I feel like my reason number 3 is kind of well fleshed out, that this show is well done. So if you've never watched an episode, I would encourage you, go back, look at season 1. If you can't get in by the 4th episode, I would say then you probably never get in. But please give it a chance, because I think it's something that people would enjoy. It's relatively clean. You can put it on in front of the family. Like, they might look and think, wow, this is aliens, it's weird looking, but they won't be frightened by anything they see on the screen for the most part. I would call it family friendly because there's no real cursing involved with it. There's no real blood and guts, although Mandalorian does kill quite a few people. But this is Disney, and it's real sneaky in the way that he'll vaporize like 15 people, but it don't even click or register in your mind because there's 1, no body, 2, no blood. So the whole idea of actual violence is kind of nullified by the effects that they use. You kind of forget that he's blowing people away with this big old sniper rifle. Again, it gets a thumbs up from me as far as family friendliness. It gets a thumbs up to me as far as like accessibility. I like the community of people that's involved with making the show and like talking about the show online. Never had any bad interactions. And finally, just to recap, huge thumbs up in my opinion as far as this being a well-made, well-done show. So those are my thoughts on The Mandalorian season 1. Didn't want to spoil anything and give anything away. Just want to encourage people who may have not watched to go back and watch. It's gonna be good when season 2 comes out. I will be doing weekly episode videos for that, as well as going back for a few movies and TV shows that I've seen recently and do a few deep dive videos talking about themes that people may have not noticed or things that kind of mean a bit to me that I want to kind of share online. Also plan on starting blogging soon, so when all that stuff gets to happening, just come back to the page. Check my stories on Facebook for the links. I'll be promoting Mandalorian for the next few weeks as we get new episodes. And as new things drop and I have access to them, I'll be reviewing and talking about them here on Whole Views. So thank you so much for watching the video. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and come back and see me again.